fellas, Cinema back. Another dish. How we doing out there? Good, great, grand, and wonderful. As you see on your screen, your dial, however, you are joining us today, Raging Fire. I was privileged enough to see this before it's even hit theaters. I think it doesn't come out in theaters until the 13th of August. I would have preferred to, thanks to Wellgo, that we're getting a U.S. release. Hopefully the transfer, which is usually pretty good, but the translation is on point. I'm a stickler for the translation and the subtitles. But anyway, I would have preferred to see this without my name stamped across it, but I understand why you have to do that. It just, you're these huge fight sequences, and I can't watch it on my TV with the surround sound and everything because just the way that it's sent to me, I don't have that privilege. But it's privilege enough to, any time to see Donnie Yen and Nicholas Say in a film again together is, whatever. Beggars can't be choosers. But man, this one had everything in it. This one, it pulled out all the stops from an action standpoint. This one coming out of China. Benny Chan, R.I.P., his last film. I don't know if he died on production. I think he did somewhere, or maybe shortly after they had wrapped. But what a film to go out on. Actually, he got some weird cancer. Just a complete bummer because he was only like 56, and I feel like in a lot of ways Raging Fire was his most well put together action piece. Benny Chan, well, you know what, I don't know if I want to say that because if memory serves, he did Shaolin, which I fucking just absolutely loved. Let me double check here. Little Benny Chan. Did he do Shaolin? Yeah. 2011 Shaolin, which had Nicholas Say in it as well. That movie was pretty fucking good. But in terms of a modern action flick, this may be one of the tops of the year. And we just had Suicide Squad release, which, well, that was a little bit more funny than action-packed. This was like a serious action film. But if you would, maybe you like the Fast 9 and going to space or whatever the hell. I still haven't made it through it. What a person to fucking purchase and then watch it halfway through and just be like, ugh. I don't know why, man, because I can watch some of, this stuff. You may be like, well, it's the same thing. I would disagree. Much more hand-to-hand combat. We had tons of awesome knife fights and baton fights. Fucking, so good. So fucking good. And we had some heavy gunplay. I thought my boy Donnie was done with the action films, or maybe he just said kung fu, or maybe I'm manufacturing all of that in my head and he just said he was done playing Ip Man. But why? All of them are so good. They're so good. I know, I'm a terrible fucking fan. I want you to play Ip Man until you're in a wheelchair. It's just how that goes. But Benny Chan's done tons of stuff. Kung Fu Master, Man Wanted, Big Bullet, Gen X Cops, Gen Y Cops, New Police Story, Rob B. Hood, even though I take serious offense on some level to Rob B. Hood. I don't know why that one didn't work for me. It just didn't. But Invisible Target was fucking awesome and a spectacle at that. Shaolin, White Storm, Call of Heroes. But yeah, it's too bad Benny Chan passed away because I think this might have been his best work. It's up for debate. I would love a DM. Call in. Oh, you can't. But DM me. I don't know. Let me know. Speaking of that whole translation thing, so if you go to the Google synopsis of this, it says Shan, S-H-A-N, for Raging Fire. Shan is a highly respected cop with a long history of success on dangerous cases. However, his past soon comes back to haunt him when his former protege seeks revenge against all those who have wronged him. Actually, a pretty well written story as well. But so they say Shan, right? You go to IMDb, and, well, they don't give a character name at all. If you go to Wikipedia, it says his name is Chung Sung Pong, or Sung Pong Chung, so I don't see any Shan there. And what I heard when I was watching the film was Bong Chung. That's what I heard. Or maybe, okay, so I'm confusing Pong. Okay, I get that, but I didn't hear no Sung. That's for sure. So what the hell's going on? I'm not saying, I don't like it when this happens. Because I know what I'm hearing. I know my hearing still works. But anyway, the plot, if you were to go to Wikipedia, this is going to be a little different than the Google, is Chung Sung Pong is an officer of the Regional Crime Unit who worked in the front line for many years and cracked many major cases. However, he is seen as an outcast due to his extremely righteous character. That's not true, which affected his career. But his protege, Yong Kong Nyo, respects him as a good officer, although Yao does not completely agree with Chung's overly hard-boiled stuff. Okay, so here's what the film's about. Bong, or Pong, Donnie Yen's character, Chung, him and Nicholas Tse were partners, or Yang Kung Nyo, and to crack a case, they had to get a little dirty, and Nicholas Tse and a few other cops, which, let me just go down the line here, because there's so many people that I'd recognize in here. Ray Liu, Patrick Tam, Ben Lam, Deep Min, Kang Yu, Kwak Kyung Chung, Chris Collins was in this briefly, also did the action directing on it. Simon Yam made an appearance on this. But anyway, so Nicholas Tse and his other partners, it's like a 5-man team, they beat a man to death, trying to get information to crack the case, to find the bad man and crack the case. Well, they beat a man to death, and Donnie Yen stumbled in on it. And I was like, wait a minute. So it goes to trial. And I love how we didn't spend too much time on the trial. It was just, this whole movie is boom, bang, bang. I think the beats are off the charts. I think there was a couple times I was just like, wait a minute, what's it? But that's just because I don't read so fast. I'm not a smart person. And when you got the subtitles and fireworks going off and gunshots, and sometimes my brain don't know what to do. But anyway, other than that, the beats are on point throughout this for an action film, and it wasn't overly silly. Every action scene was motivated by the next. As I've harped on this show before, I don't want to see a stunt reel just for the sake. I don't want to say, hey, look at, we're athletic just for the sake of being athletic. It has to motivate the story along. Otherwise, I'm out. I may say, oh yeah, some of those sequences are cool, but I got better things to do than I can go to the YouTubies and do that and Google fucking whatever wushu championship and see people move well. If I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, goddammit, I want to be entertained. And boy, was I on this one. Fucking A. Gun scene. I'm not I mean, I don't mind gunfight sequences. I just prefer hand-to-hand. I prefer anything realistic. Not that John Wick's great, and what was that one? I talked to Andy Un and Van Ness Wu and Philip Undercover versus Undercover, or Undercover Cop, Undercover Bullet, Undercover. I think it's just called Undercover versus Undercover. But those sequences were really, I don't mind that from time to time. But I like a more highly stylized, hyper realistic hand-to-hand fight. Like there was some rolling in this, jujitsu rolling in Raging Fire, that I was just like, oh fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. Same with Hydra, which I talked about a few episodes ago. God damn, was that good too. A lot of realistic rolling and getting out of arm bars and triangles, and that's cool as fuck to me if you can. And I think in a lot of ways Donnie Yen was one of the first people to bring the kind of MMA jiu-jitsu type of fighting to the silver screen. I'm sure I'm probably wrong, but I'm sure I think on some level at least modernized it with like Flashpoint and Special ID and stuff, which came out years ago. But I love to watch that shit as long as it's shot well. You know, like when you're choreographing, I cannot say this enough. When you're choreographing a fight scene, like sometimes you can tell that the action choreographer, the director, and the cinematographer were all on the same wavelength, you know, from one fight sequence to the next. And then there's just other times where you can tell there was no pre-planning and it kind of was just like a shoot from the hip approach, which sometimes does work. It's something, you know, there's no pleasing me. Sometimes that does work, but I just think it is so crucial for the three to work in harmony to craft a good action sequence. Otherwise, it just falls flat on its face. And every single one in this Raging Fire is just, it's awesome. Dude, there's like a Heat sequence. You guys ever seen The Heat? What was that, 95? Michael Mann film. De Niro, Pacino, Val Kilmer. There's that long, well, if you haven't seen it, it's a heist film. Sort of crime. Well, check it out. But there's a long street gunfight sequence. Gunfight in the middle of the street that lasts for, I don't know, 6-7 minutes. Maybe you should Google that. How long did it last? Heat. Gun fight. Oh, this is not going how I thought it would. About 8 minutes. 7-8 minutes. The gist happens in this too, and it's just as good, and it totally makes sense. It's just not out of nowhere. Just for you know what we need right now? We need some fucking fireworks. It does not happen. Everything you're like, oh, yep, gotta get him. Gotta get him. Nope, gotta get him too. Oh, he's gonna talk. Anyway, so I kind of drifted off their plot. Nicholas Say and his friends beat a man to death trying to get information, and it goes to trial. And all Donnie Yen has to say is, no, they didn't use excessive force, and the guy was dead beforehand, or yes. And he says yes, sending Nicholas and his friends to prison, or his partners to prison. So when they come out after murder, mind you, apparently that you only, because, you know, they were cops, they got kind of a short deal, but I think it was like 5 years he was in prison. And they come out, and naturally he's got a vendetta. All fucking Donnie Yen had to say was no. Could have kept him out of prison, and all the friends, and that is not so. And of course, execution is everything. So what I'm about to say does sound redundant for a action film, but that's okay. Execution is key. Of course, people from the force start dying off, you know, because vengeance is afoot. So, what else did I like? The cinematography in this, off the charts. Who did the cinematography? Go on now. Who did the cinematography? Yun Man Fung, which I think I also saw on Wikipedia, which was Edmund Fung. Never know. You never know with this GD internet. I tell you what, is it Yun Man Fung? Fun Yun Man? Because I know that there's, yeah. I don't know who's telling tales out of school. I know, the one thing I know for a certainty is that when you Google the synopsis for this, Shan is the name that comes up for Donnie Yen, and I know for a certainty that is not his name. I do know that for a fact. Good action music by Nicholas Herrera in this, for sure. Sometimes I've seen in Asian action films, the music gets silly when it really shouldn't be. Completely changes the dynamic of the film. I forget which one I was watching a few months ago, but it was like, not that it was like a super serious scene, but it was mildly serious, and I felt like we had a It sounded like a Nickelodeon kids show fucking riff. It blew my mind. I thought, I was just like, what? Why am I here? It was jarring, and it did it throughout the entire. Oh, I remember what film it is, but I'm not going to hate on it. It went throughout the entirety of the film, and luckily the action sequences saved it. But I was just like, this makes no goddamn sense from a composing standpoint. But that also happens a lot. I see when we get these releases out of Asia, and I'm sure I don't know if it's necessarily too bad as stuff with like out of the UK and whatever else, but I see that we get a lot of crossover of different music, like different composers were used for, say, the Blu-ray release as opposed to the theatrical release, and for me, that just seems like a huge waste of money, to do that, and who knows how you're going to impact your audience when you do that, you know? Like, fuck, if I was the composer when that shit happened, I'd be like, the fuck did you do to my film? Like, this was supposed to be serious. Case in point, well, no, not case in point. From a dialogue standpoint, I mean, this happens all the time. Just audio in general, when there is a release from out of town. Like The Raid, if you watch, I mean, the score still works, but if you watch it with the English dubs, it is a way less serious and dark movie, to me at least, than when you watch it with the Indonesian audio. It is just a completely different movie. Maybe not completely different, but like tonally, it feels a little off. So it looks like across the board, we just have one composer for this one. And it does feel like that, because I definitely have watched films before where it's like a mesh of the theatrical and then a distribution for the West. It's like, you're like, well, you're hurting my brain. Stop it. I'm just happy that we get to watch them. It's nice that we get to watch them, but when you see as many movies as I have, and that's not a good thing, that's a waste of life, but when you see as many movies as I have, like, it is hard to ignore. There's a lot of things hard to ignore. Like, I recently watched Ted Lasso. Good show. Very good show. I think for me, it was just slightly overhyped. It's a strong show. Calm down, every Ted Lasso fans. It's a really good show. It was either overhyped, or my particular brand of humor, which is getting fucking, it's such a contradictory thing. Like, it feels like it's getting more narrow by the year, and yet I don't find anything off limits. I just feel like I'm kind of, I don't know. South Park is still my type of humor. I still think they're some of the sharpest lads in the business, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Curb Your Enthusiasm, that's my type of humor. What are we talking about? Raging Fire? All because I said somebody ruined a movie. I don't know why we can't just release it as is. That's the point I'm getting at. Why can't it be starting from the top on the way down? Like, writer, director, like, it needs to be their vision. Well, they want it to be 3.5 hours long, so fucking be it. This isn't the olden days with the fucking when you had actual film that you had to worry about. This is digital days, babe. With like fucking, we need to cut it down for a Western audience. No, you don't. No, you don't. How are we ever going to learn if we don't see it the way that you want us, intended us to see it? Maybe I'm going to blow your mind here. What if there's more of an appreciation? What if, it really bums me out, because, like, you research this film, and I understand everybody's not doing what I'm doing, but at the same time, wouldn't you, like, if you like a film, wouldn't you, be like, oh, well, I want to see more of his work, specifically the way that he wants us to see it, Ugh. I don't know what just happened there. Speaking of seeing films the way that they're intended to see it, did you see Chris Nolan is doubling down on his I will never watch anything ever on a phone? I do see his point. I do think it totally, like, if you watch something for the first time, like if you watched Suicide Squad, or you watched, if you were one of these people that was fortunate enough to catch a link from Well Go USA for Raging Fire and you watched it on your phone, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I do feel that. Like, that shit's just foreign to me. Even, I'll even go a step further. Even like something that I don't even deem serious, like a sitcom, I couldn't watch an episode on my phone unless, like, I don't know, fucking a flight, and I don't know. That it's just foreign to me. But yeah, filmmaker, I just want to see the way that they want us to see it. Christopher Nolan wants us to see it in the IMAX. I would have liked to see this one. Raging Fire was released in the IMAX. I would have liked to seen this in the IMAX. And actually, pretty cool for Raging Fire. I believe it's actually dominating the box office right now. And you got stuff like Jungle Cruise. At least in China it is. Obviously not here because we still just, our tastes they're coming around. Anyway, in China it's reigning on the box office, and that's even with stuff that is China friendly, like Jungle Cruise and Fast 9, and I think the new M. Night Shyamalan, his film's out called Old. That one looks weird. Talked to a friend of mine. She said, she's like, yeah, I just kind of left like, what the fuck happened? Not so in Raging Fire, soon to be a Well Go USA release. Not so in Raging Fire, top to bottom, between the gunfights, we got kids going missing, we got people getting moited. It just, everything is awesome. Hostage situations with neck bombs. How can all this happen in a span of 2 hours? Well, you'll have to see and find out. And it works. It works from a technical aspect and from a cast and crew aspect. Just great. There are some sequences that are even not action-oriented that the cinematographer knocked out of the park, specifically when Donnie Yen is interrogating Nicholas Say, which is not only, I would like to point out, superbly acted by both. I don't think Donnie, I think Donnie needs to get more credit for how far his acting has come, which obviously, you work doing that, you're going to get better, but we need to start giving Donnie more credit as an actor. That was a particularly nice sequence. His partner, when he dies, I think he does really well. There was one scene where I was like, he's almost there. He didn't quite. He needed to get to a 9 or a 10, and he didn't. And that's what he was shooting for. I don't mind if you undersell it, but that was he shooting for. And I was like, oh fuck, you're almost there, Donnie. But 2 other sequences after the fact, I thought he fucking killed. He killed, Jerry. Killed. What else? Good female characters. Good female characters in this. I honestly think that out of all the fight sequences, which are really good, I would put the interrogation scene, which is no fighting, of course, and I would put that as one of my favorite scenes of the movie. That's how good the two of them working off of each other are. I think they were in Dragon Tiger Gate together. Dragon Tiger Gate, sweet. It used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it's on Netflix anymore, but that one's... to me, it is like it predates some of the bigger superhero movies. But when they utilize some of the CG, you're just like, God damn it, why don't you give a fuck? Because as I've said before, China they're kind of lax on how much time and effort they put into CG. Put it to you this way, DC blows some of that stuff out of the water. And I understand that they're just cranking movies out. I got it. But they were in Dragon Tiger Gate together, which I still think's really fucking cool. And I think, don't you guys, most of the audience, the younger cats, don't you love the manga and the anime? You need to check out Dragon Tiger Gate. Fucking solid. Solid action choreography, solid story, solid execution. Even if Donnie Yen with his hairdo kind of reminds me of Little Nicky, but I loved it. I still love Dragon Tiger Gate. Not Little Nicky so much, though Little Nicky has grown on me over the years. Still not my favorite Sandler. I like it more than Jack and Jill. I can say that for a certainty. But anyway, yeah, Donnie Yen kind of looked like Little Nicky in Dragon Tiger Gate. But when you see him beat that ass the way he does, you're like, oh, okay. Well, I would never make fun of him. I would never call him Little. I would never call that character Little Nicky to his face because he can beat ass. Another one that you should see that Nicholas Say was in, Invisible Target. That gets pretty ambitious. That gets pretty big because a lot of the movies that I'm now realizing that I like, since the fights aren't car chases and gunfights, and more hand-to-hand combat. Typically, it's a smaller movie, but this was a good Chinese actioner for sure. Like a very big scale, like Bad Boys scale. Our equivalent to Bad Boys would be the scale of this one. And I think worth it. Worth it. I would love it if we were to get like a good national release here. I don't think we will, which sucks because I think it's way better than Jungle Cruise in terms of plot and delivering on action. Now I understand, you can't show this one to little kids because there are some very brutal knife fight sequences, very brutal shootout sequences. But why wouldn't you want to? If I ran a movie theater, like, no question, I would pay for this one. Well, I may not sell little tickets, but at least I'll know in the back of my head, hey, I was on the same billboard there was Jungle Cruise and Raging Fire, because I think Raging Fire is a good summer action blockbuster with very seasoned veterans at the helm of almost every to every degree in this film, from the fucking sound department, which, I don't want to hear the same redundant gunshots over and over. When guns are switched, it is a different fucking sound effect, which if you watch closely in some films, earlier ones, not so much anymore, but back in the day, like, there'd be bigger guns making the same sounds that the smaller guns were, and you're just like, or there was like the hero gun sound and then like the villain gun sound. It was two different things. But not so here. And I like that. To me, that's a nice little touch. You see it happen in like I said, but John Wick, it delivers very realistic and changing sounds. Dunkirk is another fucking great example of use of sound when it comes to gunshots. That shit matters to me. It may not matter to you, but I'm going to notice. Hey, wait a minute. Don't try to pull the wool over on me now. So yeah, Benny Chan's last film, Donnie Yen, Nicholas Say, Gianna Ho, Ray Liu, Patrick Tam, Ben Lam, Deep N, Kang Yu, Kwak Kyung Chung, Sing, well, nope, he was just a random gangster, Chris Collins, Ken Lo, Simon Yam, son of a bitch Simon Yam was. No, he wasn't. He was actually, you'll have to tune in and find out. I thought he was going to be a prick. For a moment, he was a prick. Had a nice little moment there. This will be in the theaters on the 13th. Well, go USA. I would assume that we will get a fucking Blu-ray release. If I had to wager a guess, without having 3 to 5 months, I would say, on this one. Because with the Donnie Yen piece, they're going to give it a little more time to make sure that we have the transfer or the distribution coming correct in the States. Out of here. Well, go USA, Raging Fire, Donnie Yen, Nicholas Say, Benny Chan's last film. Ooh, great one. Great. I thought maybe his best work. Some of Donnie Yen's best acting in an action film. Nicholas Say is always talented, always believable. Ella Cinema, Well Go USA, Raging Fire. We gone.